Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Rama Rama,
Rama Rama,
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
So thank you all very much for coming out. I know we're in the middle of the week. You all have to go to work tomorrow. Ladies have to get the children to school. Nevertheless, you're coming out. Very kind of you. So I think you've all come to hear something about Krishna. Our Krishna conscious movement is meant for Shrinvanti, Gayanti, Grinanti, Vikshasa, Smaranti, Nandanti, Tabehi, Janjana. Eva Pashyantya Chirena Tarakam Bhava Prabhaho Paramam Padangujam. As Kunti Devi has said that, my dear Krishna, Kunti, the mother of the Pandavas, she said that, my dear Krishna, those who hear about you, who chant about you, who remember you, or who take pleasure in others doing so, certainly see your lotus feet, and thus they no longer have to see birth and death. So hearing and chanting about Krishna, that is the essence of all activities. Hare Katha Eva Katha Susaram. There are so many things to discuss, but the essence of all topics is Hare Katha. We'll discuss some Hare Katha from Bhagavad Gita. Do you have Bhagavad Gita in English here, please? I can read from that.
Yeah.
We'll first of all chant Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Can we chant with cartels or not? We can do. It's there, but can we use or not? Fine. It's okay. Just for chanting. I'll use these. It's just for chanting Radha Madhava. It's all right. You don't. What about, I saw one drum this size. Is that nice drum?
No.
So we got big meeting.
Oh,
Got it.
oh, that's like a dhola, is it? That's the wooden one, huh? Let's see how the sound is. The sound is nice and clear.
This mud one is terracotta one.
Oh, it's right.
Clear.
Jai Radha Madhava Raja Janaranjana Raja Janaranjana Gopi Jana Vallabha. Time. You missed the beat in one place. You missed the beat and it all goes out. You're out. What could I say? Maybe I can play both. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana. Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana. Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotarasati Srimadesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Jai. Iskon Samsthavakacharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotarasati Srimad Srila Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridasa Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Goswami Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Gangamai Ki Jai. Yamunamai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Samavita Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaura Premanande Haribo. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pranishta Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanande Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatadeshta. His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. In the plastic bag that was brought from Dubai, there should be one steel daba. Yeah.
It's not there.
How was that? It was put inside. It must have fallen in the car. All right. Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 7, text 16. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace Srila P.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of ISKCON. I'll put this in and hold it. Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukritino jana arto jignasur artharti gyani cha bharatarshava. Oh, best among the Bharatas, 4 kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. Purport: unlike the miscreants, these are adherents of the regulative principles of the scriptures, and they are called Sukritinaha, or those who obey the rules and regulations of scriptures, the moral and social laws, and are, more or less, devoted to the Supreme Lord. Out of these, there are 4 classes of men: those who are sometimes distressed, those who are in need of money, those who are sometimes inquisitive, and those who are sometimes searching after knowledge of the Absolute Truth. These persons come to the Supreme Lord for devotional service under different conditions. These are not pure devotees because they have some aspiration to fulfill in exchange for devotional service. Pure devotional service is without aspiration and without desire for material profit. The Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu defines pure devotion thus: Anya bhilashita shunya jnana kamadhyana vritam anukulyena krishna anushilanam bhaktirutavam. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. When these 4 kinds of persons come to the Supreme Lord for devotional service and are completely purified by the association of a pure devotee, they also become pure devotees. As far as the miscreants are concerned, for them devotional service is very difficult because their lives are selfish, irregular, and without spiritual goals. But even some of them, by chance, when they come in contact with a pure devotee, also become pure devotees. Those who are always busy with fruitive activities come to the Lord in material distress, and at that time associate with pure devotees, and become, in their distress, devotees of the Lord. Those who are simply frustrated also come sometimes to associate with the pure devotees and become inquisitive to know about God. Similarly, when the dry philosophers are frustrated in every field of knowledge, they sometimes want to learn of God, and they come to the Supreme Lord to render devotional service, and thus transcend knowledge of the impersonal Brahman and the localized Paramatma, and come to the personal conception of Godhead by the grace of the Supreme Lord or His pure devotee. On the whole, when the distressed, the inquisitive, the seekers of knowledge, and those who are in need of money are free from all material desires, and when they fully understand that material remuneration has nothing to do with spiritual improvement, they become pure devotees. As long as such a purified stage is not attained, devotees in transcendental service to the Lord are tainted with fruitive activities, the search for mundane knowledge, etc. So one has to transcend all this before one can come to the stage of pure devotional service. Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukritino jana artho jigyasur artharti gyanicha artharshava. O best among the Bharatas, 4 kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshura Nilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Gadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Atapata Kamalam Shri Gurunda Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyas Chakipas Indabhi Avicha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Bhava Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Go Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. In the verse previous to this, Krishna spoke about another 4 kinds of people. In this verse which we've read today, Krishna is speaking about 4 kinds of pious people who, under varying conditions, become devotees of Krishna. In the verse previous to this, Krishna spoke of the Dushkriti, or impious people. Namam Dushkritino Mudha Prapatyante Naradanaha Maya Paritagana Asuram Bhavamashrita. Krishna says that 4 kinds of impious people, they do not surrender to me. Those are Mudha, grossly foolish, Naradana, lowest among men, Maya Aparitagyana, who are intelligent or learned from the mundane point of view, but whose spiritual knowledge is completely covered over. And those who are out and out antagonistic to the personality of Godhead. So these are 4 kinds of impious people, and there are 4 kinds of pious people who, under varying conditions, take to the service of the Lord. They may be in distress, praying, "Oh God, please help me, I'm suffering." Or they may be desirous of wealth. "God, give me some money. I need some money, help." Or they may be simply curious or inquisitive to find out. Or they may have come to the position of understanding that actually Krishna is all in all, and thus they take to his service. Can we get this sorted out once and for all?
Yes, ma'am. Just speak, ma'am.
The intrinsic difference between the Dushkriti, or the rogue class of person, and the Sukriti, or the pious person, is that the pious person has faith in Krishna, some inclination towards serving Krishna, and is somewhat humble. Devotional life begins with humility. I think afterwards, otherwise, one thing after another is just one disturbance. Generally, in the modern age, people don't have what's called much attention span because they're used to watching TV. So TV, it's such a thing that it removes your power to concentrate. That's why people, because it's just one image after another and there's nothing very substantial. So people's attention span is very low. That's why even to listen to a lecture, most people can't listen very carefully. If there's any little disturbance, they become, their attention is diverted. So the pious person, he has some humility. Generally, in the materialistic concept of life, everyone probably use this phrase, is very puffed up, proud, too much ahankar. They think, I know everything. But when one becomes a little humble, he can accept that there's someone greater than me. The basic symptom of the pious person being described here is that they are coming to Krishna, accepting him as being greater than them. The distressed person prays to Krishna, dear God, please help me. That means they accept that they're not in control. Generally, the impious person thinks that I am in control. Ishvaraham bhogi. The description of the demoniac person is given in the 16th chapter of Gita, that they think, I am the controller, I am the enjoyer. But a distressed person understands, I am not the controller, and all my endeavors to enjoy this material world have become useless. And in humility he prays to Krishna. Similarly, a person desiring money, he may pray to Krishna. Now, of course, we may say, well, that's not a very elevated stage to pray to God for money. Although most people who approach God at all, we see most people in this world who approach God at all, they do so for some desire for money or relief from material distress. So we may say, well, it's not very elevated compared to great pure devotees, but it's a start. It's better than being a rank atheist. At least they recognize the supremacy of God. And the inquisitive person also, who's desirous he's just interested to find out something, he's also accepting at least to some extent that there's something he doesn't know, there's someone he should find out something more about God, let's see what it's all about. They're not against the idea of God consciousness, they accept the possibility of the existence of God. Then the Jnani, he's actually in a better position. We'll find that described in the next verse. Krishna says, Udara sarva eva ite jnani twatmeva me matam. He says that among all these four people, they're good. They're better than the non-devotees. They're better than the atheists. But among them all, the jnani is the best because he more or less approaches Krishna out of love. He has some knowledge of Krishna and he approaches Krishna on that basis. Elsewhere in Gita, Krishna says, Bahunang janmanamante jnanavang mang prapadyate vasudeva saramiti samahatma sadurlabha. It may take many, many, many births of being a jnani. Jnani means one who, jnani doesn't mean he goes to university and gets a modern degree. That's not, when Krishna speaks of jnani, he's referring to one who is following the Gyan Marg of the Vedic path. That means one who is very much studied in the Vedas and is trying to understand the Vedic conclusion. So, understanding the Vedic conclusion, that may not be so easy to find out. Even though Krishna is described in all the Vedas, Vede Ramayane Chaiva Purane Bharate Tata Adab Ante Madhye Cha Hari Sarvatra Giyate. All the Vedas, Puranas, Mahabharata, Ramayana, they're all meant beginning, middle and end only to describe Hari. But persons who are not of devotional disposition, who are not properly guided, even if they study the Vedas, they won't necessarily find Krishna there. Even though Krishna is described in all the Vedas, those without the devotional perspective can't find Krishna there, because Krishna cannot be understood simply by brain power. Krishna can be understood by His mercy. Just like sometimes atheistic people say, show me God. So we take to the temple, here is God. I only see a statue. He's God, but they see a statue because their attitude is such. Krishna reciprocates according to the attitude of the person who approaches Him. So, a materialistic person sees just a statue. The British, when they came to India, they wrote books saying how the Indian people, they're worshipping statues. They have this, in Puri especially, they didn't like Jagannath. What is this? Why are they doing? Why are they worshipping? But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he saw Jagannath, he saw Krishna. This is the Lord of my life. I've been trying to find Krishna. Now at last I found Krishna. Actually, for one who is a pure devotee of Krishna, he doesn't have to go to a temple to see Krishna, because he sees Krishna everywhere. Privanjana charita bhakti vilochanena santah sataiva hridayesh vilankayanti. He always, his heart is, Krishna is manifest in his heart, because he sees not through eyes of logical disposition, mundane logical disposition, but he sees with eyes tinged with the salve of love. Krishna reveals himself devotee. Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvang chamai pashyati. Krishna says, for one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, that he is never lost to me. Sachame na pranashyati. He is never lost to me, and I'm never lost to him. So actually, one who has eyes to see, he can see God everywhere. People ask, have you seen God? Yes, of course. How are you to see? That Krishna describes, Raso harapsu konteya, I am the tasting water. Prabhashmi shashi suryayo, I am the light of the sun and the moon. Shabdake, I am the sound in ether. Paurushang Rishu, I am the ability in man. Everywhere you can see Krishna, because everywhere Krishna's potencies are spread. It's just like now just outside Madras, they're building the Ford car factory. Great benediction for the people of Madras. Some people, I don't know, they think so. So, if you go to the Ford car factory, can you see Mr. Ford? Probably not. Maybe he'll come for the inauguration or something like that. But generally he won't be there. But one who has got the eyes to see can see that he is there by his influence. If it wasn't for the Ford family, the factory wouldn't be going on. So he's there by his influence. That's called his separated energy. He's by his plan, by his command, the Ford factory is going on. So he is there. That is his separated energy. It means he's not there, but everything is going on by his order. So similarly, everything in this world is going on by Krishna's order. Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sachara acharam hetunanena kuntaya jagad viparivartate. Everything in this world is going on by Krishna's order. And so a devotee, he can see, a God-conscious person can see that in the whole universal setup, behind everything is Krishna. Otherwise, it's not possible. How can this vast universe exist? How can it be going on? How can this fantastic arrangement be going on unless there's God behind it? It's not simply by chance. That's a very funny idea. If we say this microphone is coming to being by chance, will anyone believe it? Of course not. It's very specifically designed with very specific paths. If one wire, tiny little wire, is loose, then it won't work, isn't it? Because it's very specifically made. So similarly, this universe, it's very specifically made. We hear that if this planet was to move even slightly out of its orbit away from the sun, then everything would be frozen. There'd be no life here. And if it was to move even slightly closer to the sun, then everything would be burned up. But it goes exactly in its orbit. How is that? What's that verse which says, how is the sun going exactly in its orbit? You know from Brahma Samhita, can you tell me the verse? Sule Shlokam. Yachchakshuresha. Yasyagya. So, what is the meaning of this verse? This verse describes that the sun is compared to the eye of the Supreme Lord, and is, even though the sun is very powerful, Ashesha Teja. Ashesha Teja means unlimited. From our point of view, the sun has unlimited power. The sun gives out more power in 1 second than the human race can use in billions of years. You see, this is only one, the amount of light, the amount of energy that falls on the Earth's surface. You can imagine we're 93 million miles away. This Earth is just like a speck. And how much power is falling on this Earth? So much power is being given out at every moment. And it's been given out since time immemorial. And still giving out. The sun is not becoming finished. So much power. The sun is so powerful. All the planets are receiving light and heat from the sun. But how is the sun going on precisely in its movement in the universe? All the different planets interrelating with the sun. Yatyagaya, by his order. Whose order? Krishna's order. Govinda. So even the sun is very powerful, but it's working under Krishna's order. So in this way, a devotee, he sees Krishna. You can see Krishna. You begin to see Krishna. How? By the Shrutekshana Panta. I mean, Shruta means hearing. Ikshana means by your eyes. So, and Panta means the path. So this is the path of seeing by hearing. Just like in English, if you understand something, you say, I see. Isn't it? Someone describes to you some, maybe, I don't know, maybe you're studying computer science or some mathematics and you can't understand, then you understand, you say, oh, I see. It means I understand, isn't it? Actually, seeing means by understanding. Just like in a chemical plant. A layman just sees some pipes and some substances, but an expert chemical engineer can understand what is going on. They both see the same thing, but to a layman it means nothing. But to an expert chemical engineer, he understands exactly what's going on because he's trained, he's studied. So actually, to understand God, some training is required. Training means by hearing. We have to hear. Tattvadarshi, one has to approach. Tattvadarshi, one who has seen the truth. That means Tattvadarshi means, how does he see the truth? He has seen himself by hearing from another who has seen the truth. Tadvijnanatam sagurum ivabhigachat samitpani brahmanishtam. One should approach one who has understood that essential knowledge of the absolute truth. This parampara means by hearing. So people are coming in the beginning stages to Krishna consciousness, either distressed, wanting some money, just inquisitive to find out, or one who is more advanced, he has some knowledge of Krishna. He finally came to understand that the absolute truth is Krishna. But to come up from that stage of being of some initial interest, one has to hear about the science of Krishna. One has to understand, one has to take up sadhana. Then he can make advancement to the stage of a pure devotee. Because actually although to be a pious person engaged in the service of the Lord is good, but it's not the ultimate goal of life. Just like the artha arti, one who approaches God for the sake of some money. Now that's better than the atheistic person who also wants money. Generally everyone in this world wants money. There are not many people who are akinchan. Akinchan means with no desire. There are not many people like that. But those who approach God for some money, they're in a better position than those who are grossly atheistic. Still, if Krishna is to be understood fully, one has to give up all material desires. One ultimately has to come to that point. Because Krishna says, Kunti Devi, she describes, that Krishna's one name is Akinchana Gochara. It means Krishna can be understood by someone who has nothing to aspire for in this material world. Janma Ishvarya Shuta Shribhir Edamana Madapuman Naiva Hatya Vidatam Vaitam Akinchana Gochara. She says that people in this world, they become very proud if they're born in a prestigious family or nation. Someone who's from America in the modern age, they may be very proud. I'm an American, our country is the best country. Or someone who's born in what's supposed to be a high-class family in India, that caste consciousness may be there. We're Brahmins or something. Even I heard in Goa, many Christians, they say that we are Brahmin Christians, we're not ordinary Christians. You can only marry Brahmin Christians, not fisherman Christians. So that consciousness is there. We are better by birth. So that's some pride, but Krishna, he doesn't like that. Or if one has some money, the tendency is to become proud. I've got so much money, I'm better than you. You're struggling, I have so much money. I can throw away more money in a day than you can earn in a year. This kind of pride. I have such a big house, such a big car. I send my children to school in America. Some pride. Janma Aishwarya Shruta, one who is very highly educated, he also thinks himself, I am better than others. Or one who has got very good looks, bodily beauty. These are material opulences which tend to make one proud. But Krishna, he laughs when he sees this person is thinking, I am so great, I've got so money. What is your money? Compared to Krishna, who owns all the universes, even your money, you're thinking it's my money. Actually, it's not your money at all. You're a thief. It's all Krishna's money. Why are you saying it's your money? You came in this world with nothing, you leave with nothing. In the meantime, you say, this is my money. It all belongs to Krishna. Or someone is, they think, I'm very intelligent, I know so much. Do you know as much as Krishna? No, not possible. And even what you know, that's only one gift from Krishna. That will all be lost at the time of death. You may be Professor Einstein in this life, or you may be a frog in the next life. You don't have any knowledge of any science. You'll just end up in this biology laboratory yourself. Generally, frogs, they become the subject of biology experiments in the school classroom. So this pride, one cannot approach Krishna if one has got pride. So some humility is required. That is the beginning. Actually, that is the beginning of Krishna consciousness. That one is humble enough to accept that, well, I really don't know. I need some guidance. Krishna appreciates such an attitude. If one is very pompous, puffed up, he can't understand God. Maybe you know, it's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he first met Ramananda Rai, his great devotee, they had some conversations in which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was taking the position of a student, and Ramananda Rai was taking the position of the teacher. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Ramananda Rai to describe what is the goal of life and how to attain it. Now, of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is himself the goal of life. And he has come to teach the people of the world how to attain it. Sadhya sadhana tattva jai kichu shakal harinama sankirtane milebe shakal. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself had already taught this to one Brahmin who was reading many books in Bengali The word is given boipoka. It means bookworm. Exactly the same meaning. Exactly. Boy means book and poka means worm. So the same word is given in Chaitanya Bhagavat. A bookworm. He was reading many, many books. And the result was becoming more confused. That's the same thing is going on today. People, they buy so many books on, some book on meditation and some book on tantra and this book, that book, another book, and their head is simply spinning. They don't know what am I supposed to do, or they think they know. That's even worse. If you think you know and you don't know, it's even worse. So they read so many different things and their head is spinning. So one Brahmin, he was Tapan Mishra, he was approaching Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I read so many books, what is it? I don't know. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, this is it, Sadhya Sadhana Tattva. The goal of life and how to attain it, Jaikichu shall call everything about it, Harinama Sankirtane Nilede shall call, everything is complete in the chanting of the holy names of Krishna. But just to extract some information from Ramananda Rai for the benefit of people in future, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even though himself he was teaching what is sadhya, what is the goal of life, and what is sadhana, what is the means to attain it, he asked Ramananda Rai, what is sadhya sadhana tattva? So Ramananda Rai started off by describing, well, you should lead a good life, you should follow, you should do your duty and all these things. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was saying, Ehovacha, that's okay, but that's not really the best thing. There's more than that. Age kaho, tell me some more. So Ramananda Rai was giving so many suggestions that you should perform your material duties very nicely, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, okay, tell me something more. You should become a sannyasi, that's all. No, what's the so eventually he said something that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted. Jnana, he was quoting from Srimad Bhagavatam. Jnane prayasam utapasya namanta eva. When you give up your own endeavor to understand everything by your own brain power, when you stop thinking that I'm so wonderful, I'm so great, I have such a big brain, and you become humble. Namanta eva means ready to bow down. Then jivanti sannokaritam bhavadiyavartam, one should be ready to hear topics of Krishna Katha from devotees. Then his path to Krishna consciousness opens up. Sthane sthita. You can stay at home. If you're living at home, you can stay at home. Doesn't matter. You have to hear from devotees. Sometimes when someone becomes interested in Krishna consciousness, his family members become very afraid. But now my husband's going to become a sannyasi, or my wife's going to become a mira, or something like this. But no, you can, of course, if young men want to become brahmacharis and preach all over the world, we have no objection. But if you're already married, then we say, stay at home. But what should you do at home? Not simply, you see, even not in the Gulf countries, Muslims, they don't keep dogs, but generally in India you'll find, especially now it's become a big fashion, in the home they'll also have a dog. The dog is also living in the home, and you're also living in the home. So living in the home means you should have a better consciousness than a dog. Unfortunately, many people nowadays, they're not much more elevated than the dog. Only they're standing on 2 legs and the dog is standing on 4 legs. Well, the next life, the way they're going, they're all going to be on 4 legs. So live at home, but how to live at home? What is the result? Krishna, one of his famous names is Ajit. Ajit means never conquered, and Ajay, never conquerable, not possible to conquer, because he's the Supreme Lord. But you can conquer Krishna by love, by this process of humbly serving him. This is the process to understand Krishna. So in the beginning, one may come to Krishna for various reasons. Give me some money. But Krishna, he's very attractive. That's the very meaning of the word Krishna. Krishna means all attractive. So if we chant Hare Krishna, that in itself is very attractive. It's very pleasing. If we associate with devotees, it's very nice to associate with devotees, because devotees are very special and wonderful people, because their life is centered around Krishna, and Krishna is the most special and wonderful person. So anyone who becomes Krishna conscious, they also become very special and wonderful. They take on the qualities of Krishna. Generally, if you associate with a very powerful person, their qualities tend to rub off on you, isn't it? Whoever you associate with, then you tend to take the qualities of that person, especially if they have a lot of influence, if they're a very strong character. So Krishna is the strongest character. If you associate with Krishna, then you start to take on the qualities of Krishna. Krishna is always joyful, so devotee also becomes joyful. Krishna has no cares, he's not concerned, he has no anxiety. So devotee also becomes free from anxiety, because he knows Krishna is protecting me. Whatever happens in this world, nothing can be so bad. Generally everyone in this world is full of anxiety. What will happen? This will happen, what will happen? So many anxieties. But a devotee knows that anyway, everything in this world is temporary. So whatever happens, it's all Krishna's wish. Ultimately I will go to Krishna. So he's not so much concerned. Of course, devotee is not irresponsible. He has to discharge his material responsibilities also. But he doesn't put all his hope in his material life. So many people nowadays, they're so frustrated because they have so many plans and ambitions. They want to be a success and this and that. And either their plans are not successful, in which case they're frustrated, or their plans are successful and they get lots of money and everything, but then they find it doesn't satisfy them, and then again they're frustrated. So either way you're frustrated. Either you get what you want or you don't get what you want, but you end up frustrated, because material happiness doesn't give you happiness at all. It's just a big myth. But one who becomes Krishna conscious, then he's always satisfied. Because for one thing, he's not chasing an illusory goal of being happy by having lots of money, big house, prestigious position. He knows that these things are not very meaningful. But Krishna is meaningful. Everything in this world is not meaningful. What does it mean if you're President Clinton, or what does it matter? What does it matter? But if you're a devotee of Krishna, oh, that's very nice. Because everything in this world is temporary. But Krishna, service to Krishna, that is permanent. That is eternal. So devotee is on the transcendental platform, and he's always thinking of Krishna. Therefore devotee is always happy. And even the very lifestyle of Krishna consciousness is very nice. You see, if you become Krishna conscious, then there's no more chicken bones or other nasty things, no nasty smells coming out of the kitchen, no bad habits, no drunkenness, no wasting your time watching ridiculous things on the TV. Your life is centered around Krishna. I mean, even materially, devotees have the nicest life. One thing's for sure, as far as food is concerned, devotees have the best, because they're always cooking nice food for Krishna, isn't it? And afterwards we take Krishna's prasad. That's why we have Ekadashi. That's one reason it's good to fast on Ekadashi, because sometimes taking so nice prasad. Of course, sometimes living in the Gulf, they're telling me that you sometimes have to eat in the canteen or something. Better don't eat in the canteen. If your wife is here, have her cook some parathas offer to Krishna, take it to work. Is eating in the canteen is horrible. Ugh. Even thinking about it, I want to vomit. All the people, what they're cooking and what they're thinking when they're cooking. So, take nice prasad. And devotees, they have the best friends also. You see, devotees, they come together as friends. Materially speaking, people come together as friends. It's some kind of social life according to your prestige and position. If someone gets a promotion, he leaves his other friends behind if they don't get promoted. It's like that, huh? If you go up in the world, then I'm not fit to be seen with all these lower class people anymore. It's all friendship in the material world. It's all based on what I can get from you, and I'm very nice to you because I'm just thinking what I can get out of you. But devotees, they come together on a completely different basis. They come together on the basis of glorifying Krishna. And there's no such consideration like, this person's very high caste or low caste. There's no such thing. Devotees only come together to serve Krishna. They come together on the platform of Krishna Kirtan, glorifying Krishna. Devotees come together on the platform that we are all spirit soul. We're not the body. We all come here to serve Krishna. That's why you see our ISKCON sannyasis, they travel around the world and they see all different kinds of people. Today I may be in Abu Dhabi in a very, compared to India, plush kind of room, driving from Dubai to Abu Dhabi in a Mercedes car. Then tomorrow I'm going to India and I'll be in some village with some hut and the children running around with their clothes half torn. But it's the same thing. It doesn't depend on any material condition. I'm not coming to see you because you're driving me in a Mercedes car, but because you're chanting Hare Krishna. When we go to the village, what business do we have there? Because they're chanting Hare Krishna. That's our platform. We're interested, who is a devotee of Krishna? We don't care for someone, they may be PhD, MSc, multi-billionaire, but are you chanting Hare Krishna? What is the value of all these things? If you're not chanting Hare Krishna, then alright, do what you like. We will prefer to associate with devotees. So devotees, they have very nice friendship, best social life. We're not antisocial, unsociable. We have the best friends. Actually, some time ago, a few years ago, I just met them. I was just in one town in South India, and I met them, and afterwards they wrote to me and said, well, how can I serve you? I said, well, I wrote back and said, well, I don't know how you're going to serve me. You're sitting in one town in South India, but what you can do, why don't you get some of Prabhupada's books and distribute them? If you want to do something with some idea from me, distribute Prabhupada's books. So then he wrote back after some time and said, yes, I'm doing, and people are purchasing them. The only problem is that I'm losing all my friends. Because they don't, they think, he's become a religious fanatic or something. And so I wrote back and said, don't worry, Krishna will send you new friends. So after some time he wrote and he said, it's true. People started reading the books and then they came, and we're having bhajans and kirtans. I never knew there's so many wonderful people in our town. And I lost all my old friends, but I've got much better friends now. So that's the Krishna conscious process. Just like I'm sitting here today with all of you, what have I got to do with you? From the material point of view, you're all coming from a different culture, different country. You're probably, most of you, educated professionals, and I dropped out of the educational system before I had time to get into it practically. I joined this room at age 18. Often people ask me, well, which university do you go to? I said, well, I've been to many universities for preaching, but I never studied at a university. So you're all highly qualified from the material point of view. Myself, not at all. Do I have any degree? No. So, what have we got in common? that we all like to chant Hare Krishna. That's our bond. And even you see next month I'll be traveling in Russia for 1 month, and the people there, they don't speak every word I have to speak to anyone has to be through a translator. Speak something, they translate, the other person speaks, translate. It's very slow, like this. But why? And then Russia in October means all snow. In Dubai, Abu Dhabi, all these places, you don't know maybe you saw it on the TV or something. Thick snow. I was supposed to go earlier, but I had some problem with my visa. So why should we go there? Because people, they like to chant Hare Krishna. We like to chant Hare Krishna. Prabhupada's order to his sannyasis: travel from place to place, speak about Krishna, bhaja Krishna, follow Krishna, karo Krishna Shikha, chant Hare Krishna. You tell people to chant Hare Krishna, study about Krishna, worship Krishna. So this is without any material distinction, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. This is our aim and object, simply to satisfy Krishna. And that transcends all material boundaries. Even people are coming to Krishna maybe coming for all different reasons and from all different backgrounds. But when we come to Krishna, then it is Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrita Svardhanam. Krishna consciousness means to enter the ocean of transcendental bliss that is always increasing. And one who is a pure devotee of Krishna, at every step of their life, they feel great transcendental happiness from remembering Krishna. So this is the life of Krishna consciousness. How Krishna consciousness is perfect, pure, complete. Of course, we may not be perfect, pure and complete. We're not. That's why we're in the material world. We have our imperfections and our frailties, and even sometimes people take to Krishna consciousness, but along the way, as Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavad Gita purport, there may be accidents even on the royal road, even on the highway. Even, you see, there's a very good highway, very well laid out. Even then, the cars are very good, just like you see in this part of the world. The roads are very good, the cars are very good. Still there are accidents. I don't know, I didn't look in the newspaper, but I'm sure there are accidents, isn't it? Must be.
Plenty.
Why is that? Is that all the drivers from India and Pakistan?
No, it's not.
They still.
Most of the time there is an accident, actual accident, maybe burst of tire.
Like that, yeah.
And lost the whole.
So the point is that's the very nature of this material world. There's got to be some problem, or inattentiveness. Someone may not be watching when now they have these big TV screens.
No, talking.
That's another one thing too. Yeah, they're talking. Hello, how are you? How are you? Well, I'm just on my way to hospital now. How are you? Not anymore. Not here anymore. I'm not at all. Dehantara praptihi. Change body. So there are accidents, even on the royal road. So you have to be careful when practicing Krishna consciousness. You have to be very careful, do our sadhana very nicely, not make offenses to devotees. In this way we can go on in Krishna consciousness very nicely. Of course, as I say, we are coming for various reasons. No one's perfect, it's understood. Why we're in this material world, we're not perfect. So we take up Krishna consciousness and sadhana, we have to take up the sadhana process. That means Cheto Darpana Marjanam, cleaning the heart. There are many bad things in the heart. Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. They have been summarized as 6. Lust, greed, anger, envy, illusion, and madness. Mada means madness, the madness of thinking I am this body. So all these things are there, and when we chant Hare Krishna, we have to start to clean all these things. So sometimes, if there's very deep dirt, maybe I have to have a hard scrubbing. And sometimes devotees, the bad qualities, they may be manifested in different ways. But nevertheless, it's better not to criticize devotees, because those who are trying to be Krishna conscious, it's very easy to find the fault in others. But at the same time, we should understand that anyone who's trying to be Krishna conscious, that in itself is glorious. Krishna says these are sukriti, these people are pious people. Krishna, he appreciates that someone is trying Krishna conscious. We all have to try to help each other. Sankirtan movement means that Sankirtan means Sangha, we're all together. So you have to try. Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So nice, so easy. You see? You're chanting very enthusiastically, even though you've chanted so many times. Still we get enthusiasm, because the name of Krishna is always inspiring, always enlivening. So please chant Hare Krishna, go on with this chanting. Once you take it up, actually chanting very enthusiastically, even though you've chanted so many times, still we get enthusiasm, because the name of Krishna is always inspiring, always enlivening. So please chant Hare Krishna, go on with this chanting. Once you take it up, actually you can't give it up. It's addictive, but it's a good addiction. By this addiction, you will get free from material life and gain the mercy of Krishna. So is everyone here has their mala, is chanting? Everyone is chanting. Anyone not chanting would like to start chanting? Anyone here is not chanting Hare Krishna regularly on beads? Maybe you're shy to say no. Who is there? You're not? Would you like to chant Hare Krishna regularly? Yeah, I don't mind. Yeah. Alright, so why don't you take one mala, japa mala, everyone here is doing, and you simply chant every day Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And one mala means 108 beads. So you chant 108 times every day, and that is the beginning of your elevated Krishna consciousness. And then as you get to like that more and more, and you can do more than one mala a day, you can do 2 malas, and go on and increase. So please, some of the devotees can arrange to take one mala and start chanting Hare Krishna. So are there any questions? I see pieces of paper circulating around. There may be many questions. Let's see what I can do to answer. Our answer should be according to Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, not according to, in my opinion, what we have heard from Guru, and Guru means what he has learned from his previous acharyas, and the basis of all are the words of Shastra. Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, Vakya, Chitete, Kariya, Aikya, Arana, Kari, Homanayasha. The words of Guru and Sadhu and Shastra we should fix up in our hearts and not desire anything else.
Some Bengali devotees also there. Can you read Bengali?
I can read Bengali, but how is that going to help them? If I speak, it would help them more. Kyo Bengali? Apni Bengali, na? আর কতজন বেঙ্গলি আছে এখানে? শুধু আপনি? আর কেউ আছে? আচ্ছা, হরে কৃষ্ণ। আপনি দীক্ষিত? আপনার কি নাম? গৌরাঙ্গ। সুন্দর নাম, খুবই সুন্দর নাম। বাড়ি কই? বাংলাদেশ। কোন জায়গায়? সিলেট। কোন জায়গায় সিলেটে? শ্রীমঙ্গল। জেলায় না টাউনে? আমি কয়েকবার গেলাম শ্রীমঙ্গল। এই আখড়াতে আমি কয়েকটা প্রোগ্রাম করেছি অনেকদিন আগে। So, questions?
In the 4th chapter, Krishna says, Paritrana sadhuna vinashaya dushkritam. So when he says sadhuna and dushkritam, so is he referring to this 4 type of sukritin and 4 type of dushkritin?
Yes, sadhu basically means, as Prabhupada explains in the purport, devotee. And asadhu means non-devotee. There's also, generally we classify in these 2 categories, but there's also a class in between that's described in the 11th canto of Bhagavatam, in the description of the behavior of the Madhyamadhikari devotee, that says that Ishvare tadadhineshu balisheshu tvishatshu cha prema maitri kripopeksha yakaroti samadhyama. A middle-level devotee or a preacher devotee sees the Supreme Lord and develops his love for him. He sees the devotees and develops friendship with them. He sees innocent people and preaches to them or has mercy upon them, and he sees the envious people and he neglects them. So among the non-devotees there are grossly envious people, and there are others who are non-devotees or dushkriti by bad association, who by good association can be reformed. Prabhupada said that most of the people in the world, they're not so bad, but because of bad leadership or being misguided, they are bad. So most people are not too bad, but because of bad association, they're acting wrongly. But others who are out and out against Krishna consciousness, they are very bad. That's why preaching is required. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted we should preach Krishna consciousness. In preaching, mostly those who are in this in-between position, who are not, they're acting badly and thinking badly, but they can be reformed. Mostly these kind of people are to be preached to. Just like many of us previously may have had many non-devotional or even what could be called demoniac habits, but by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy now reformed. Let me take some other questions. Lots of questions about Lord Shiva. How is it 2 people are asking the same question about Lord Shiva? This question came up recently.
The same question. One day we were after the Shiva program. He said he is unable to answer that question.
Yeah, Shiva Tattva, it's quite complex. The original form of Lord Shiva is called Sadashiva, who's actually a Vishnu form in the spiritual world. Now, generally we understand that there is Vishnu Tattva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Jeev Tattva, which are the forms of the Jivas, the living beings. But in between there's Shiva Tattva, who is he's neither the Supreme Lord directly, nor is he an ordinary Jiva. But he's in an in-between position. He's like the Supreme Lord, but he has some function, he's function in the material world. Lord Vishnu is always remote from or aloof from the material contamination, but Lord Shiva, he is a form almost of the Supreme Lord, but he has some material touch. So he's in an in-between position. That example is given of his like the Supreme Lord, but a little bit changed. That vikara is there. That the yogurt is nothing but milk, but it's a transformation. It's not exactly the same as milk. So Lord Shiva is very similar to the Supreme Lord, but at the same time, he cannot perform the same. He has a different function to perform. Specifically, he has a function within the material world. So, he's very powerful. He's called Mahadev, very powerful personality. But he also considers himself he is a devotee of the Supreme. He's not the Supreme Lord directly. He's a devotee of the Supreme Lord. Now, he also expands himself into many forms. This is where the confusion may come. The original form of Lord Shiva is never destroyed, but he expands himself into many, many Rudra forms the Rudra aspect of Lord Shiva, or the anger aspect, is manifested as many forms of Rudra who are not, they're material forms. They're not, they are destructible forms, so those forms, they will not exist after annihilation. But the original form of Lord Shiva will continue to exist. That's where the confusion may come. There are different forms of Lord Shiva.
Maharaj, see, we were hearing one bhajan, Brahma bole Chaturmukhe, Shiva bole Panchmukhe. So that's a confusion, like Brahmaji we have seen 4 heads, but how the Shiva has got 5 heads?
Well, there's, like I said, there are different forms.
Which custom is related to the Panchmukha Shiva?
I don't know. But that bhajan is there, and there may be some deity like that. Well, in his you see, even Panchamukhi Lord Shiva, he may manifest 5 heads at some point in time, less heads at another point in time. For different reasons he may have. Just like Lord Vishnu sometimes shows 4 hands, sometimes 8 hands, like this. If you get into all these things, studying all the forms of the different demigods and so many things, all the different pranas, there's so many things. But generally we concentrate on worshipping Krishna, because how much can you know and understand anyway? Basically, what do we need to understand? Lord Shiva is a great devotee. He's a great demigod. We offer him all respects. But we don't really need to know everything about him. We should learn more about Krishna. There's not that much benefit to... Just like you'll find there are so many stories of Lord Shiva and how Ganesh and Kartikeya were born, and then how they got married and everything, but it's not the marriage of Lord Shiva and so many things, but it's not really very important for devotees of Krishna. You can hear, but maybe we want to hear about Krishna, because these stories, they don't directly relate to Lord Krishna. That's why even the Mahabharata, that's Sri Shudra Dvija Bandhunam Traina Veda Gochara, that was composed, that's not considered, even the Mahabharata is not considered a very advanced literature, because it doesn't directly deal with the pastimes of Krishna. 11 forms of Shiva, their names are given in Bhagavatam. 11 forms of Rudra are given. So many different names are given. Again, if you want, you can get into knowing all those things. But it's like learning technical knowledge. It's like you may learn technical knowledge of computer science or something. Of course, learning about Lord Shiva is better than that, but it doesn't in itself bring us to the transcendental platform. Shall we take written questions? I mean, why do we have written questions if everyone just comes in? Our Lord Shiva, Lord, what is this? Lord Bhava, Lord Brahma, Shiva, Hari are the controllers of the modes of material nature. Are they bound by it? Vishnu is not bound. Brahma, basically they're Brahma, Shiva, Lord Vishnu, they're called guna avatars. They're highly advanced living beings. They may be bound to some extent. Lord Brahma especially may be bound. Lord Shiva also, by the will of Lord Vishnu, sometimes may be in some slight illusion. But basically Brahma, Shiva, they're great devotees of Krishna. So even if there is some, from Shastra we can see there may be some slight tinge of material affection, but we don't, because they're great personalities, we don't dwell on that. But we see their great devotion that we see or do or experience in this world or life is temporary. At the same time, we must be responsible for our karma and keep on working to discharge our duties. What is the significant need for our efforts of work if everything is temporary and insignificant? Actually, there's nothing in this world of any importance, ultimately. So, actually, yes, you can just give up everything, surrender to Krishna, but are you ready to do it? If you're ready, then you can immediately give up everything and fully surrender to Krishna. But are you ready to do it? Very few people. Philosophically, we may understand everything in this world is temporary and meaningless, but practically, we have material attachments. Therefore, Krishna recommends that instead of artificially trying to give up material attachments, which we're not ready to do, that instead we continue to work in this world but cultivate detachment and attachment to Krishna. While at the same time cultivating the philosophical understanding. It is said that Ma Durga is the Paramata. Please explain in context to Krishna, as he says in Sri Bhagavad Gita. Well, in Gita we don't find Parameshwari, Paramata discussed directly, although Krishna does refer to the material energy. Daivihi Esha Gunamayi Mamamaya Duratyaya. He says that this Mahamaya is very powerful and difficult to overcome. As far as being the Supreme Mother, well, that's her relationship with Lord Shiva. It said that from the all living beings, Tasam Brahma Mahadyoniya, all living beings are impregnated in this world through the copulation of Lord Shiva and Ma Durga. So, in that sense, all living beings in this world are produced from Shiva and Durga. But then again in Gita we see Krishna says, Pitaham asya jagata mata data pitamaha. Ultimately the Supreme Father, Mother, Grandfather, everything is Krishna. So, although Durga may be considered the Supreme Mother, that's from the materialistic point of view. From the spiritual point of view, it's understood that Krishna is the Supreme everything. These are all kacha. Is it?
Maharaj, if it is convenient to you, can we have more questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Maharaj, there's one incident in Bhagavatam when a sage is put on a spear by the soldiers and then he questions what exactly.
That's described in the purports.
Then he curses Yamaraj to become Vidura. So then exactly but again you come across Yamaraj meeting Yudhishthira. So what exactly is happening? He's being cursed and he's born as Vidura. How do we get
Then there's the Yaksha Prashna and everything. Well, during that time, who was that? Aryama was presiding as Yamaraj. Or it may be also that exactly it's not described in Bhagavatam. We can only, on the basis of what we've read, we can speculate that great personalities, they can also take up more than one role at a time. So Krishna gives them that facility. So it may have been the same Yamaraj who, just like at the time of Yaksha Prashna, was doing that. Just like we read that Narad Muni, he expands into many forms, glorifying Krishna in different universes. So Krishna gives facilities to great devotees. when Krishna, to expand into many forms for his service. Just like when Krishna married 16,100 queens simultaneously. So they all had to be married at the same auspicious muhurta. So they didn't, Krishna expanded himself into 16,100 forms, but Devaki, Vasudev, Ugrasen, they all had to be present at each individual marriage, so they were. They also expanded. So Krishna gives that facility to his devotees to expand into different forms.
Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Pitahamasya Jagto Mata Dhata Pitama, that I am the father and mother of everyone. But in the 5 rasas, none of the rasas we worship Krishna as our father and mother.
In the 5 rasas we don't, the servitude rasa, that Krishna's sons, they're in the Dasya rasa. Krishna's sons and daughters, that's not Vatsalya rasa, that's Dasya rasa.
Okay, in Dasya rasa we worship Krishna as our father.
No, in some phases of Dasya rasa.
And Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada says we should try to serve Krishna as much as possible and his devotees. And if we do that, we can reach to Golok Vrindavan. That's our highest goal. But in Brahma Samhita, the purport is mentioned that people who are in Dasya Rasa, they go up to the Vaikuntha planets. And
that's Aishvarya Yukta Dasya Rasa. There's also Dasya Rasa in Golok Vrindavan. The Vaikuntha planets, Dasya can only take you as far as that. Sorry, there's nothing beyond Dasya Rasa there, or maybe some tinge of Sakya Rasa, but Dasya Rasa is also that Krishna also has his servants in Golok Vrindavan. Is Vishnu or Krishna the same Supreme Personality of Godhead? Please explain in context to each other. Yes, Vishnu is Krishna, Krishna is Vishnu. The same person expanded in different forms for different functions. Just like, to give an example, even in the material world, a person may, in different circumstances, have different dress, different moods, even different names. Just like in the office, you may be dressed in a suit and tie, and you're called, your secretary may address you, Mr. So-and-so, very formal, respectful, and you're dealing with whatever business you're dealing with. So a very formal, respectful mode. And when you come home, you may change into a lungi or shorts or something, and then your children crawl all over you, and your wife is calling out from the kitchen something, and very informal. And in the office you may be called Mr. So-and-so, but the wife doesn't call you that. Then you may go to some social club or something like that, party, different dress, and people may call you by some nickname, and your mood is different again, your friends are different again. So the same person may in different circumstances have different moods, different dress, even people call him by different names, he associates with different people, and there's a different kind of pleasure in each circumstance. So the Supreme Lord, he takes different forms, Ram, Nrsimha, Varaha, Kurma, and in each form he has different, looks different, in many ways seems to be like a different person, but he's the same person, but he's enjoying different moods with different devotees. So, according to Shastra, Krishna is the original form of God in which he's enjoying to the highest extent. And Vishnu is an expansion of Lord Krishna who is worshipped in opulence. This we understand from, especially from Bhagavad Gita, in which Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo, mata sarvam pravartate. Everything comes from me, Krishna says. Mata parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya. Nothing is equal to me, Krishna says. From Bhagavatam also, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the original form of the personality of Godhead. From Brahma Samhita, Govindam Adi Purusham. Govinda is the original form of God. Ramadi Murtishu Kala Niyamenatish Nanavatamakarod Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam. This word is there, Swayam. Krishna is there are many pastime forms of God, beginning with Rama, but the original form is Krishna. This is understood from Shastra. This has to be understood from Shastra. We can't understand simply by our opinion or by research work, but it has to be understood. If we are at all to understand God, it must be from Shastra. What is the significance of chanting at least 16 rounds? Why this number? Yeah. So we should chant a certain number of rounds. And we should chant. Sadhana means practice. Sadhana means that we don't have the taste for that a pure devotee has. A pure devotee of Krishna has a taste for hearing and chanting about Krishna, does that automatically. Aspiring devotees are called sadhakas. That means they're trying to develop that taste. So for them, some fixed routine is required. Because if we simply leave it to, well, as you feel like it, then one day you may not feel like chanting at all, one day you may chant more. The tendency is to be loose. The tendency is to go down. You can be easily overwhelmed by Maya, but if you have a fixed number that I must chant every day, then even if you feel completely in Maya, then if you start to chant, then that will elevate you and purify you. But if we just leave it to our wish, then we'll just remain in Maya. So the fixed number should be there, should be some fixed number. Now why do we say at least 16? Actually the more the better. Traditionally devotees would chant 64 rounds, which if you count it comes to about 1 lakh of names. So 16 is a multiple of 64. So Prabhupada has given this as the minimum for us. It's come from the 64. It could be 22 or 23 or 17 or whatever. But because 64 was the traditional number fixed. In other words, it's not just the numerical. The point is there should be some sadhana. There should be some fixed rule. Yeah, niyam is the word. As many as possible. So, out of convenience or whatever, it's come to that. But because Prabhupada, being an empowered, or the empowered representative of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, has given that to us, and we should follow that. And then by His mercy and His grace, that will help us to go back to Godhead.
Maharaj, when Chaitanya Prabhupada appeared, we had Lakshmi Priya, Vishnu Priya, and Haridas Thakur along with him. Whose expansions were they?
Asking whose expansions are Lakshmi Priya, Vishnu Priya, and Haridas. Why only these three? There are so many devotees. There's a whole book called Gaur Ganodesh Deepika which explains who these personalities are. So the Lakshmi Priya and Vishnu Priya, they're both expansions of Lakshmi. Vishnu Priya is Bhu Shakti. Haridas Thakur is Brahma. Any other questions?
Srila Prabhupada says that for the purpose of preaching, a Uttam Adhikari has to come down to the level of Madhyam Adhikari.
Mm-hmm.
And can we understand with an example?
For the purpose of preaching, an Uttam Adhikari has to come down to the level of a Madhyam Adhikari. Because a Madhyam Adhikari makes distinctions. That this person is a devotee, this person is not. If you don't make distinctions, you can't preach. Whereas a pure devotee, Uttam Adhikari, Madhyam Adhikari is also pure devotee. But Uttam Adhikari, he sees that Mahabhagavat, he sees Sarvabhuteshu Yapashad Bhagavad Bhavam Atmana Ajanti Atmanichamanam, that he sees that all living beings, they're all devotees of Krishna, and who are you going to preach to? He sees everyone's a devotee except me, and who are you going to preach to? So coming to the level of Madhyama Adhikari means he makes distinctions. That's required for preaching. Madhyama Adhikari is meant for preaching. Example, any preacher. You see Prabhupada,